Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the star line by a comedian, actor, producer, and writer. He's won Gemini, Canadian Comedy, and Writers Guild of Canada, among many other awards. His latest project is Son of a Critch on the CW. Welcome the pride of St. John's, Canada, Mark Critch.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Mark, let's go beyond the mic. When you were told that Son of a Critch was going to be a series, what emotions went through your mind other than, yes, I might be able to pay the bills next month?
Well, I was pleasantly surprised, but a little shocked because you talk about these things, you plan them. We were in good hands. We had the executive producer of Schitt's Creek, a popular show, and one of the writers of The Office who co-created it with me. So I knew we had a good team. But there's still that kind of a thing. I guess it's like, jumping off a high dive for the first time. It's all fine and when it's in your head. And then you're about to do it. You think, well, this could go great or this could be the biggest mistake of my life. And luckily, 3 seasons in, we're still there.
How does Benjamin Ainsworth take you as a kid to a new level?
Well, always hire someone who's more talented and better looking than you to play you. That's the first thing. That was the easiest thing to do. He had a great success in life, He was a young guy, and he'd work with Tom Hanks in the film in Pinocchio, the new Pinocchio. And so he was already doing much better than I had at the age of 12. He was doing better than I was at 49. But he is an incredible actor. And I said to him, don't try and play me. Nobody knows who I am. It's not like you're playing Winston Churchill. Just make this a character. And lift the words off the page. And he does that in spades. He's an incredible gifted actor.
Mark, are there stories you could have put in Son of a Critch, but they might have offended a family member?
Oh, my God, yes. And I put them in anyway because my parents are no longer with us. So we're good that way, and they would be equally parts proud and mortified, I think. But my brother, he works in radio, as my dad did. To this day. So something will come up on the show and he's a character in the show and people be calling into his radio station, go, hey, I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that. Your first girlfriend. And he'd be like, will you shut up? Why are you doing this? But he sold me the rights to his life story for $1 legally. So it was just $1 change hands. And now I own his life. So I can do whatever the heck I want, I figure.
$1 is a steal. You ripped off your brother.
Well, technically the company ripped off my brother. So
Which story from the show means the most to you?
That's a great question. I think this season we have some wonderful moments about there's one that's the first time I ever did comedy and I snuck into a bar at the age of 14 and got signed up for this cabaret night. And my dad came down and busted me after I'd performed and I got in a lot of trouble. But this is my first time then doing comedy for someone who had paid a ticket price. And I felt like I had done it. So I was still on a high, but I was playing my father yelling at me as a kid. And this was a real visceral memory for me. And so that was one where I kind of felt like I'm on the operating table and I'm floating over myself, And I really saw it then for the first time playing my dad through my father's eyes going, this is crazy. What are you doing? And at the time I thought, I've got to be me. I want to be a comedian. But now looking back, I realized what a fool I was being. So that was that's really what I kind of felt like I'd stepped back into a memory.
And you were able to give that moment where it's part terror and part pride.
Yeah, absolutely. And my dad was a popular radio newsman. And so everyone in town knew him. So part of the act I did in this cabaret was an impression of my dad making fun of him. And so I'm dressed as my dad, playing my dad, yelling at Benjamin, dressed as me, playing me, doing an impression of my dad, whom I dressed as. So it was kind of like, it would have been cheaper to go to therapy. I think I should have just seen someone.
Mark Critch from Son of a Critch on the CW joins us beyond the mic for the Rocking 8. Mark, all this is 8 random questions. Answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. There's no pressure.
Yes, sir.
Favorite place to vacation in Canada?
That would be Montreal.
Other than Superman, what was your favorite Halloween costume growing up?
That would be, I went as C-3PO one time, one of those crappy plastic ones that cut your face.
If you could have made a second beer that was different than your Son of a Critch lager, what would you like it to taste like?
Guinness.
Good choice. What's the best thing about your kids?
They follow their own path. They're comfortable being who they want to be.
Mark, do you remember the first guitar you owned and you still have it?
It was called Anjo, and it was sort of like a pressboard guitar, and I still have it in the basement.
Who's the comedian that you would have liked to work with just once?
Oh boy, that would be Martin Short, whom I've met several times, but I've never worked with him. But he's the best.
I know you got a jukebox, so what's the first record you put in there?
Oh, geez Louise. That would be, the first one I put in would have been That's All Right, Mama, Elvis Presley, but Lubbock, Texas, a lot of Buddy Holly on there.
Good choice. You consider It's a Wonderful Life to be the best Christmas movie of all time. But what's the worst movie you've ever seen?
Oh boy, the worst movie I've ever seen was one I was in. It was called Anchor Zone. I was about 22 years old, and it was a kind of a science fiction movie made on a budget where everything, all these sciencey stuff was basically just duct tape. We could not done it. I was in it, so I couldn't even watch it, and I was in it.
It's time for the back half with Mark Critch, star of Son of a Critch on the CW Beyond the Mic. If you could work with one person, alive or dead, who would it be?
Oh boy, alive or dead? As I said, Martin Short, I think, is someone who was a huge influence on me growing up. A Canadian guy who had made it in the States, but I just love his use of character. I do a lot of sketch comedy and stuff. He's such a positive guy. I've met him a couple of times. He's very, very positive and giving. And I just think it'd be a lot of fun to get to play together someday.
Mark, what does comedy mean to you?
Comedy I think it's the toughest art form because it's the only one you can't fake. You can go to a ballet and you didn't like it, you can clap afterwards. You might get see your friend playing a bar, and even though people aren't really listening, he can walk away from that going, hey, I nailed it. But with comedy, if people don't laugh, which is akin to sneezing or getting sick, it's something your body can't control, then you have failed. So you're looking out at, so it's truth. For me, comedy is the most truthful art form.
Why should people watch Son of a Critch?
I think it's a tale of being an outsider. It's set up in Canada in this weird little place. But at the end of the day, it's all about, being bullied, being afraid to tell that girl you love her for the first time, trying to figure out who you are, finding that out, and then trying to have the courage to be you instead of trying to fit in with the sea of everybody trying to be themselves, be alike. So I think whether you're an older person looking at it for nostalgia or a young kid looking at it because that's what you're going through now, you'll enjoy it. And it's the kind of show families can watch together, which we don't really have a lot of these days.
That's true. It's time for One Big Question with Mark Critch from Son of a Critch Beyond the Mic. Son of a Critch at its base is about family. Dysfunctional, disjointed, like all families are. Why is family so important to you, and how did yours make you the man you are today?
I think we don't realize sometimes until doing a show like this and you look back and you really start to look under rocks in your memory and stuff, how much family was there for you. You take them for granted, you get mad at them, what have you. But then when you stop back and you look back and you see all those different moments where they lifted you up, where they helped you, where they righted you, without even telling you they were doing it at the time. And having my own family now, I look back and I think of what moments we have together that will become memories for them that they'll be thinking about when they're in their 40s, and that's a magical thing about families and memories and getting to look back probably with a bit of rose colored glasses, but then you see all the different moments that their support and love made you who you are and why. So, it's everything.
Mark, what would your dad think of Son of a Critch?
I think he would say to me, oh my God, why are you doing this? This is so embarrassing. Good God, everybody, why would you tell people that? But then he'd go to the shopping mall and he'd say, hey, did you see the show last night? Kid did pretty good. Guy from Clockwork Orange is in it. So he'd secretly be very proud. But to me, he'd be mortified.
He once performed for the Queen of England. She wasn't impressed. Still has his first guitar and wants you to watch Son of a Critch on the CW. Mark Critch, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Sean, thank you so much for all the research and the thoughtful questions. You're the best. Thank you.
And that, my friends, is a Beyond the Mic shortcut.